The Discovery Captain Thrain Keswick adjusted his compound eyes as he stared at the massive object floating in the void before them. His chitinous fingers clicked against the command console of the Morvaki exploration vessel Starseeker as he tried to make sense of what they had found. The thing was enormous, easily 3 times the size of their own ship, yet it appeared completely dead in space. Science Officer Zeta Prime, what are your readings? Thrain's mandibles clicked together in the universal Morvaki sign of confusion. His species had been exploring the galaxy for over 2,000 years, yet nothing in their vast databases could explain what lay before them. The synthetic consciousness that served as their science officer materialized as a shimmering blue hologram. Beside the captain's chair, Zeta Prime's form flickered slightly as processing cycles dedicated themselves to analyzing the mysterious vessel. Captain, the readings are contradictory. The vessel appears to be completely powered down, yet I'm detecting massive energy signatures from within. The hull composition is unknown to our databases, despite our records containing information on over 40,000 different alloy combinations. Navigator Quinn Volter looked up from his station, his amphibious skin changing from its normal blue-green to a worried purple. The Aquari were known throughout the galaxy for their navigation skills, but even Quinn seemed troubled by their discovery. Captain, the vessel's position doesn't make sense. It's not in a standard orbit around any stellar body, and there's no debris field to suggest it was damaged in battle. It's almost as if someone deliberately placed it here and then simply walked away. Thrain's antennae twitched, a sign that his analytical mind was working through the puzzle. Zeta Prime, can you identify the species of origin? Surely something this large would be in the galactic registry. The AEI's form solidified as it completed its scan. Sir, I've found something. Interesting. There are markings on the hull that appear to be some form of written language. The computer has managed a partial translation. The vessel is designated as UHS Endurance, and it appears to belong to a species called humans. Humans? Quinn's skin shifted to a pale yellow, indicating curiosity. I've heard that name before. Aren't they listed in the primitive species database? Confirmed, Zeta Prime replied, accessing the galactic archives. According to our records, humans are a carbon-based bipedal species from a planet called Earth. They are classified as pre-spaceflight civilization, having not yet developed faster-than-light travel. The last survey of their world indicated they were still using chemical propulsion and had barely begun exploring their own solar system. Thrain felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Then how is it possible that we're looking at a human? Starship in deep space, thousands of light years from their home world? Unknown, Captain. However, I recommend extreme caution. If the database is incorrect about human technological capabilities, we may be dealing with a species that has deliberately concealed their true advancement level. The captain considered this possibility. Throughout galactic history, there had been stories of species that hid their true capabilities until they were ready to reveal themselves. Most of these stories were considered myths, but the evidence floating before them suggested otherwise. Bring us closer, but keep our weapons powered and ready, Thrain ordered. If this is some kind of trap, I want to be prepared. As the star Seeker approached the human vessel, more details became visible on their screens. The ship's design was unlike anything in the galactic archives. Where most advanced civilizations built their vessels with smooth, flowing lines that spoke of aesthetic, beauty combined with function, the human ship was angular and brutal-looking. Its hull was covered in what appeared to be armor plating, and strange protrusions jutted out at various points along its length. It looks like it was built for war, Quinn observed, his skin now a deep red that indicated fear. But the construction methods appear primitive. Look at those welding marks and the rough surface finish. It's as if they built it in a hurry without caring about appearance. Zeta Prime's holographic form flickered as it processed new data. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual. The ship's hull shows signs of impact damage from various weapons. Plasma burns, particle beam scorches, and what appear to be projectile impacts. This vessel has been in combat with multiple different weapon systems." "Can you identify which species use those weapons?" Thrain asked. "The plasma burns are consistent with hegemony battle cruisers. The particle beam damage matches weapons used by the Void Hunters. There are also energy signatures that match synthetic collective disruptors." The AI paused, its form flickering more rapidly. "Captain, this is impossible. No single ship could survive combat with all three of those species. The hegemony alone has conquered dozens of worlds. The Void Hunters have never been defeated in open combat, and the synthetic collective destroyed the entire Krellin Empire." Thrain's mind raced. Each of the species Zeta Prime had mentioned was considered one of the most dangerous military forces in the galaxy. The idea that a single ship, belonging to a supposedly primitive species, had somehow survived encounters with all of them was beyond belief. "There's something else," Zeta Prime continued. "I'm detecting faint life support readings from within the vessel. The ship appears to be abandoned, but all primary systems are still functional. Someone could have survived inside for extended periods. Or someone could still be inside," Quinn whispered, his skin now pale with fear. Thrain made a decision that would change everything. "Prepare a boarding party. We need to get inside that ship and find out what happened. If humans are more advanced than we thought, the Galactic Council needs to know immediately." Within an hour, Thrain, Zeta Prime's mobile form, and 2 security officers had crossed the void between the ships. The human vessel's airlock was surprisingly easy to operate, almost as if it had been designed to be accessible to different species. As they stepped inside, the first thing that struck them was the ship's atmosphere. It was breathable, but it had a strange quality to it, as if it had been recycled many times. The interior of the ship was even more puzzling than the exterior. The corridors were wide and functional, built for efficiency rather than beauty. Strange. Symbols were painted on the walls at regular intervals, and the lighting was harsh and artificial. Everything seemed designed for practicality, with no consideration for aesthetics. "This way," Zeta Prime announced, its mobile phone sensors leading them toward the ship's center. "I'm detecting the strongest energy signatures from what appears to be the bridge." As they made their way through the ship, they passed numerous rooms and compartments. Some appeared to be crew quarters, simple and sparse. Others contained equipment they couldn't identify, machines that hummed with barely contained power. The more they explored, the more confused they became. "Captain," called out Security Officer Krex, "you need to see this." They found Krex standing in what appeared to be an armory. The room was filled with weapons, but not the elegant energy weapons used by most galactic civilizations. These were crude-looking projectile weapons, devices that seemed to fire solid metal slugs rather than energy beams. Yet when Zeta Prime scanned them, the results were shocking. "These weapons are incredibly sophisticated," the AI announced. "The metallurgy is beyond anything in our databases. The projectiles are designed to penetrate armor that should be impervious to kinetic weapons. These aren't primitive weapons at all. They're advanced kinetic systems designed to look primitive." The revelation hit Thrain like a physical blow. They're hiding their technology, making it look crude and simple, while actually being more advanced than ours. They continued exploring, finding more evidence of human deception. The ship's computer systems appeared to be simple displays and basic controls, but Zeta Prime scans revealed quantum processing cores that operated on principles beyond current galactic understanding. The engines looked like crude fusion reactors, but were actually some form of space-time manipulation system that bent reality itself to achieve faster than light travel. When they finally reached the bridge, they found it abandoned but fully functional. The captain's chair sat empty, facing a large view screen that showed the surrounding space. Control stations were arranged in a semicircle, each one designed for maximum efficiency. But it was the ship's logs that provided the most shocking revelations. "Captain, I've accessed the ship's database," Zeta Prime announced. "The information contained here is ... extraordinary." The logs told a story that challenged everything the galactic community believed about humans. The UHS Endurance had been one of a fleet of human vessels operating in deep space for over 50 years. They had encountered numerous hostile species and had not only survived, but had actively protected primitive worlds from conquest and destruction. Commander Alana Vasquez had been the ship's captain, and her personal logs revealed a level of tactical brilliance that impressed even Thrain's analytical mind. The humans had developed a strategy of appearing primitive while secretly building a network of defenses throughout the galaxy. They had been watching, learning, and preparing. "Listen to this log entry," Zeta Prime said, playing back Commander Vasquez's voice. "We've completed our third successful defense of the Kepler colonies. The hegemony fleet withdrew after losing 6 battle cruisers to our primitive kinetic weapons. They still don't understand how we're penetrating their shields. Admiral Webb's strategy of technological misdirection continues to work perfectly. As long as the galaxy thinks we're backward, they won't prepare for our real capabilities." The logs revealed encounter after encounter where human ships had used their supposed primitiveness as a weapon. They would allow enemy forces to underestimate them, then use tactics and technologies that their opponents couldn't counter. The humans had been fighting a secret war to protect the galaxy's weaker species, and they had been winning. But the most shocking revelation came in the final log entries. Commander Vasquez's last transmission spoke of a discovery that had changed everything. "We found evidence of something approaching from outside the galaxy." Her voice was grim as she spoke. "The hegemony, the void hunters, the synthetic collective, they're all just the advanced scouts. Something much worse is coming, something that sees our entire galaxy as nothing more than resources to be consumed. We're going to need every species working together to survive what's coming. The time for hiding may be over." The log ended abruptly, leaving Thrain and his crew in stunned silence. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just more advanced than anyone had realized. They had been secretly protecting the galaxy while preparing for a threat that could destroy everything as they prepared to leave the abandoned ship. Thrain couldn't shake the feeling that they had just discovered something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The question was, where were the humans now, and were they still preparing for the approaching threat? The Awakening the Starseeker had barely cleared the human vessel when every system on their bridge began to light up with warnings. Zeta Primes. Holographic form flickered rapidly as data streams poured through their ship's computers at unprecedented rates. "Captain, we have a problem," the AI announced, its voice carrying an unusual note of concern. "The human ship is powering up. All systems are coming online simultaneously." Thrain's antennae snapped to attention as he watched the view screen. The UHS Endurance, which had appeared dead in space moments before, was now glowing with energy. Running lights activated along its hull, and the massive engines began to emit a low, thrumming vibration that they could feel through their own ship's hull. "Are they targeting us?" Quinn asked, his skin cycling through several colors of fear. "And confusion." "Negative," Zeta Prime replied after a moment. "I'm reading full activation of all systems, but no weapons lock. It's as if the ship is waking up after a long sleep." Before anyone could respond, their communications array crackled to life. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in perfect galactic standard with only the slightest accent that marked It as human. Morvaki Vessel Starseeker. This is Commander Sarah, Chun of the United Human Space Navy. Please maintain your current position and prepare to receive a transmission. Thrain's compound eyes widened in shock. Zeta Prime, I thought you said the ship was abandoned. It was, Captain. I detected no life signs during our boarding operation. This is impossible. The view screen flickered and then displayed the image of a human female. She appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with graying hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to look directly at each member of Thrain's crew. Her uniform was simple, but carried an air of authority that was unmistakable. Greetings, Captain Kessick, Commander Chun said, apparently knowing his name despite never having met him. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary to ensure you discovered the information we wanted you to find. Commander Chun, Thrain replied, trying to maintain his composure despite the surreal nature of the situation. Our scans indicated your ship was abandoned. How are you able to communicate with us? A slight smile crossed the human's face. I am no longer alive in the traditional sense, Captain. What you're speaking with is an AI construct based on my consciousness, preserved within the ship's quantum matrix. I died 3 years ago, defending the Rigel colonies from a Void Hunter attack. But Admiral Webb insisted that key personnel be preserved in case situations like this arose. The implications hit Thrain like a physical force. The humans had technology that could preserve consciousness beyond death, yet they continued to let the galaxy believe they were primitive. The level of deception was staggering. Why reveal yourself now? He asked. Why not continue the illusion? Commander Chun's expression grew serious. Because the time for hiding is over, Captain. The threat I mentioned in my final logs is closer than we anticipated. We need all eyes, and we believe your species might be the key to forming the coalition we'll need to survive. Zeta Prime's form solidified as it processed this information. Commander, what exactly is this threat you're referring to? We call them the Devourers, Shun replied. They're not from our galaxy, and they're unlike anything we've encountered before. They consume entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. Our long-range sensors detected their approach 5 years ago. They'll reach the outer rim of our galaxy within the next 2 years. The bridge fell silent as the magnitude of this revelation sank in. An extragalactic threat that consumed star systems was beyond anything in their worst nightmares. How do you know this? Quinn asked, his skin now a pale white with fear. Because we've been watching them, Chun replied. While the galaxy thought we were struggling with chemical rockets, we had already developed quantum tunneling drives that could reach other galaxies. We've been exploring beyond the galactic rim for decades, mapping potential threats and opportunities. She paused, letting this information sink in before continuing. What we found terrified us. The Devourers have already consumed at least 3 other galaxies. They're methodical, efficient, and completely unstoppable using conventional military tactics. Every species that has tried to fight them directly has been eliminated. Then how do we stop them? Thrain asked, though he feared the answer. We don't stop them, Chun replied. We survive them. But that requires a level of cooperation and sacrifice that the galaxy has never achieved. It requires species setting aside their territorial disputes and technological advantages to work toward a common goal. The view screen shifted to show a star map of the galaxy, with various sectors highlighted in different colors. We've been secretly establishing defense networks throughout the galaxy for 50 years, Chun explained. Hidden bases, weapon caches, and communication networks. But hardware alone won't be enough. We need the diverse talents and capabilities of every spacefaring species. What makes you think the Galactic Council will listen to humans? Zeta Prime asked. Your species isn't even recognized as spacefaring. Chun's smile returned, but it was cold and calculating. Because we're going to prove to them that their entire understanding of galactic power structures is wrong. The view screen changed again, showing dozens of ships decloaking around them. Thrain's crew gasped as they found themselves surrounded by a human fleet that had been invisible moments before. The vessels were massive, sleek, and clearly designed for war on a scale that dwarfed anything in the galactic archives. The UHS Endurance wasn't abandoned, Captain, Shun continued. It was bait. We've been waiting for the right species to find. It's someone whose natural curiosity and scientific integrity would lead them to investigate thoroughly. Your species' reputation for detailed analysis and honest reporting made you perfect candidates. Thrain felt a mixture of admiration and terror. The humans had manipulated them from the beginning, leading them to discover exactly what they wanted them to find. The level of strategic thinking involved was breathtaking. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to return to the Galactic Council and tell them what you've learned," Chun replied. "Tell them that humanity is ready to take its place as a galactic power, but only as part of a coalition dedicated to mutual survival. The old ways of conquest and domination are about to become extinct. Either we work together, or we all die together." Quinn's skin had returned to its normal blue-green, indicating he was processing information rather than simply reacting emotionally. "Commander, assuming we agree to deliver your message, what guarantee do we have that humanity won't simply conquer the galaxy once you've revealed your true capabilities?" "Because conquest is a luxury we can't afford," Chun replied. "The Devourers don't distinguish between conqueror and conquered. They consume everything. Our survival depends on the survival of every species in the galaxy. We need the Mavakis' analytical skills, the Aquari's navigation abilities, the hegemony's military discipline, and the unique capabilities of dozens of other species." She leaned forward, her expression intensely serious. "Captain Keswick, humanity has spent the last century preparing for this moment. We've studied every species in the galaxy, not to conquer them, but to understand how we can all work together. We know the Morvaki's greatest strength is your ability to find patterns and connections that others miss. That's why we chose you to find the ship." Thrain felt a strange sense of pride mixed with apprehension. The humans had specifically chosen his species for their analytical abilities, recognizing a strength that even the Morvaki themselves sometimes undervalued. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you have a choice," Shun replied. "You can return to the Galactic Council and report that you found an abandoned human ship with primitive technology. You can maintain the status quo and hope that somehow the existing galactic powers will be able to handle the Devourer threat on their own." She paused, her expression growing grim. "Or you can tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity has been preparing for the greatest threat the galaxy has ever faced, and that we're ready to share our knowledge and technology with anyone willing to work toward our mutual survival." The bridge fell silent as Thrain considered the implications of both choices. If he reported the truth, it would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. Species that had considered themselves dominant would suddenly find themselves dealing with a hidden power that had been observing and preparing for decades. But if he didn't report the truth, and the Devourer threat was real, then every species in the galaxy would be doomed to extinction. "Commander," Zeta Prime interjected, "may I ask what happened to the other human ships?" "The logs from the Endurance mentioned an entire fleet. They're still out there," Shun replied, "watching, waiting, and preparing. Some are establishing final defense positions at the galactic rim. Others are working to evacuate populations from worlds that can't be defended. A few are trying to develop weapons that might actually work against the Devourers. Have you found anything that works?" Chun's expression grew hopeful for the first time during their conversation. "Possibly. The Devourers seem to have a weakness to coordinated quantum disruption fields. But generating fields of that magnitude requires the combined technological capabilities of multiple species. No single civilization can do it alone. Thrain made his decision. We'll deliver your message, Commander. But I want proof that this devourer threat is real. I won't ask my government to restructure our entire society based on claims alone. Of course, Chun replied. Zeta Prime, I'm transmitting comprehensive sensor data from our long-range observation posts. The information includes detailed analysis of devourer movement patterns, consumption rates, and projected arrival times. You'll also receive technical specifications for the quantum disruption technology we've developed. As the data transfer completed, Zeta Prime's form flickered rapidly. Captain, the information is authentic. The mathematical models are consistent, and the technological specifications are theoretically sound. If this data is accurate, we have approximately 18 months before the first Devourer scouts reach our galaxy. The weight of responsibility settled on Thrain's shoulders like a physical burden. He was about to deliver information that would change the galaxy forever. Information that could either save civilization or tear it apart in panic and chaos. Commander Chun, he said finally, humanity has hidden its true nature for decades. How do we know you're not still hiding something? How do we know this isn't just another level of deception? The human's expression softened, showing what might have been genuine emotion. Because deception is a tool of the weak, Captain, and we're not weak anymore. We're about to reveal our true strength to the galaxy, and we're hoping that strength will be enough to save all of us. As the Starseeker prepared to depart, Thrain couldn't help but feel that he was leaving one galaxy behind and entering another. The universe had suddenly become a much larger and more dangerous place, but it had also become a place where former enemies might become allies in the face of extinction. Behind them, the human fleet faded back into invisibility, but Thrain knew they were still there, watching and waiting. The galaxy was about to discover that the species they had dismissed as primitive were actually its potential saviors. The question now was whether the established powers would be wise enough to accept help from the species they had underestimated, or whether pride and fear would doom them all to extinction. As they jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization, Thrain realized that the age of human secrecy was ending. What came next would determine whether the galaxy survived to see another millennium. Asterisk.